Whatever.
I'm still the teacher though, so I don't know if you can get rid of everything.
Go to me and like give me food or something. Like this is what she does. She's always like, yeah, really? She has to feed me. It's not funny.
Yeah, she'll be here soon, so.
Yeah.
Yep, of your notebook, but so we can get that out and start that.
Lauren, who's the teacher you had for CNA in the beginning of the year? Yeah. Did you have, okay, so you didn't have CNA, did you?
Towards the end, yeah.
I was gonna say,
She was teaching both classes because there was another teacher, Dawn.
yeah. Yeah, that's what they're talking about. Tammy's like, okay, so she gave us like a study guide for a test. She's like, none of this should be safe. I'm like, yeah, no shit. What's going on? Like, so she went through and she's like, well, the teacher before this I had to replace.
Yeah.
So we're kind of just guessing at this right now.
This is how it went. Okay, guys, we're going to start done. You're going to have chapter 1 test, okay? So now let's start learning about
Abby, you ditched me last class. I'm so mad at you. You know what? No.
I told you 4th grade is about to not litter.
We have gone over to chapter 7 right now. Should I go back to chapter 6?
chapter 5 test, and then the next year we're going to chapter 1.
I'm sorry, no. We're going in order right now. Our medical psychology test is next Friday, and we have. She gave us a study guide already, but she took off over half the stuff on the study guide already.
Really?
Shut up. Either way, and our senior. Okay, so when you went on to chapter like 4 of the medical term, it got really random. Like I don't know why, but it just didn't make sense. Yeah, she kind of gave up. She said,
Hi! Happy Friday!
Tammy was 1 to 11. So it's study one.
You probably can see Miss Chamberlain's not here today. Her youngest, Blakely, is sick today. She got called out of school yesterday and she had to leave class. And so I have been the teacher all day today. So you're stuck with me for today. We're going to have a sub walk in about middle of class. And so she'll be here. I'm a little like, I consider myself like a baby teacher, so I need supervision to make sure I don't mess you guys up or something. But we're going to keep going on in our lesson today. We will finish the lab next class, but we're going to move on in our notes today. So get out your notebook lit, a periodic table, and complete daily challenge number 16 on your notes. It's like 4 problems, 2 easies. You were gone last class. We did a lab last class. We did we worked on a reaction worksheet. You don't have that.
I started getting rid of me.
We're going to be having time to do this in class, so
I'm just in here.
while you're working on the daily challenge, come on out.
Yep.
We'll pull some of the juniors out today. So, while you guys are completing the daily challenge, I'm going to go over our plan for today. It's going to be a lot of work time today, a lot of you guys just working on different practice problems. So the first thing we're going to do is go over our reaction worksheet after we go over the answers to the daily challenge. Then we're going to take some note on decomposition reactions. There are different types of those, so we're going to take notes over that. Then I'm going to give you a handout to practice. And then we're going to wrap up with forensic farming reading. That's really cool. Kind of just to note, we're going to have a lot of work time today. So anything you do not finish today, that's like a worksheet, a handout, or the reading activity, will be homework due next Wednesday. So I will, if I were you, I'd work really hard on what we're doing today so you don't have any homework over the long weekend. Alright, so let's finish up the daily challenge on the top of page 16 of your notes. Top of page 16, daily challenge. you guys another, let's say, like minute and a half to finish up the daily challenge.
No, like what is like the charger?
Alright, looks like most of you guys are finishing up the daily challenge. As a class, we're going to go over the answers together. So for number 1, we have sodium iodide reacting with mercury chloride to form sodium chloride and mercury iodide. Who can tell me what kind of reaction that is? Double replacement. Good job. So write DR next to that. Number 2, we have sodium iodide to nitrogen triiodide decomposes into nitrogen and iodide. So the second one is decomposition. The third one is sodium plus chloride forms sodium chloride. What kind of reaction is that? Synthesis. All right, for number 4, we'll go over it. I'll do it on the board with you guys. Write the balanced chemical equation. We're going to be doing a lot of practice with these, so if you didn't quite get this, we're going to have a lot more practice today. So, write the balanced chemical equation for the reaction between iron 3 oxide and aluminum. So I write down what I know first. So I have iron 3, that 3 doesn't tell us what goes underneath, it tells us the charge. Iron 3 oxide, oxygen is a -2 charge. We look at our charges, we balance our charges, so we have Fe2O3, it's iron oxide. Reacts with aluminum, aluminum has a +3 charge. The next step that I do is I figure out what kind of reaction I have. I have a couple and a single person, or single element. What kind of reaction will this be? Single replacement. Opposites attract, so the positive ion will go with the negative ion. So I write the cation first, aluminum +3, oxygen -2. Balance out my charges. 3 and 2. And what gets kicked out when aluminum comes in? Iron. Plus Fe +3. After I predict my products, I balance my equation. I have 2 irons over here, 1 over here, so I need to put a 2 in front of my iron here. I have 2 aluminums and 1 aluminum, so I put a 2 here, 3 oxygens, and my equation is balanced. And we already answered the last question, what kind of reaction is this? It's a single replacement reaction. All right, so the next thing we're going to do today is give you some time to work. Get out your reaction prediction worksheet. It's the worksheet we started last class while we were doing the lab. It looks like this. It says reaction prediction worksheet. Get that out. We're going to be working for about 25 minutes on it. When you have it done, raise your hand. I'll come over and check your answers. And then I'll give you a quiz. The quiz, don't be, like if you don't get it done today, then I won't give you the quiz. If you don't finish this, it will be homework and you will get the quiz next class period. I would recommend doing it now so it's fresh in your head, so you don't have to worry about it after the long weekend. So get your reaction worksheet out, start working on that. I'll be around to help. Again, when you're finished, raise your hand. I'll check it and write it down. Sulfur is S. It's part of our brittle compound, so we're going to get diatomic because we do this. last quiz.
What?
The balance quiz. Let's see if I think I have some. Would you like to do that now? So you can put it in. Not here.
How big are you, right?
Your notebook put out in the spreadsheet so we actually just get that one out so you can work on that
Okay, I'll text you.
I have the upside down. Because I have chamber one chapter one.
No, I have. No, you can put it over there.
They are wrong.
Because we are need to.
I don't know. I chamber one chapter three. I get it there because. Yeah, nice. Scoring. Yeah. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, you got this. Yep. So what else needs it? What else is by itself? Chlorine by itself?
Oh, totally.
Natural gas.
Thanks, Daddy. Feel better about myself. It's okay. I told you I'm wrong. I'm glad. I am really stupid in most of my subjects. So let me take this. Yes. Okay. Where do I can feel better, Daddy? This is how I feel. I felt. You know what fight me that I will square up. Square up. That will do that. What's the thing for silver? Is it an AG? AG. AU is gold. Yeah, where are you? Because I'm not inside.
No, write water as HOH. Oh, write it that way. Yep.
Me too.
You know, like this is ammonium, phosphate, and sulfate, which are on the back of bacteria. They balance on both sides. They come as a package. It'll be easier to balance that way. If you balance all the phosphates, you can balance all the yeah, that's why. Try that.
We don't have to have it.
Nitrate is not what I thought it was. That makes more sense.
Did you not try?
I did nitrogen. Hoping there's another side. It's snazzy.
And just put it to
I've not heard this one forever. So it's just one. Yeah. Like I said, you don't have to see it.
I just need to know in order to go on, Callista.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I know.
So I have a plus 2 charge. I have a plus 2 charge on this thing, and a minus 1 charge on
Wait, why is it 2?
Everything.
Thanks. Subscription price. Awesome. What's that thing on fire? That's right.
Well,
Good.
it's not my fault. Yeah, I know. It's stupid, right?
So you guys have CO2, and then you have nitrate.
Sodium.
-1, right?
And
You understand this is the polyatomic, this is kind of
What?
Okay. So I have a plus 2 here and a minus 1 here. And we cancel out charges. This 1 will come down here, so 2 will go over here. So you're gonna bring this 2 across the whole entire nitrate ion. 2 here and then 1 there. You don't write
So would
subscription
it be,
1, but
yeah, it'd be 4.
that's how that would work. So we did the iron 3 oxide.
Hold on.
And we had iron
Okay.
plus 3, oxygen minus 2. This 2 came down here, and this 3 came down here. We cancel out the charges. That make sense? Intriguing. That helps.
What?
Think about that for a second.
Octa.
So tricarbon, how many carbons would that be? 3. That is how many there are besides you don't do charges on covalent. This is a covalent. So this is 2 non-metals bonded together. We don't do charges on covalent bonds. So it'd be C3H6. There you go. Plus oxygen. Oxygen by itself. It's a buddy. What kind of reaction is that?
But we're gonna do chemical reaction on the board. What else could it be? Combustion. Whenever there's a combustion reaction, we'll always have CO2 plus H2O as our product. So literally write CO2 plus H2O. And then balance it from there. Yep. We don't put charges on carbon ever. You can put charges on oxygen, you don't put charges on carbon. So, when we have a combustion, you realize that's a combustion reaction, right? Okay, moving this underneath, that's going to say it for the test too. So if you have a combustion reaction, it's going to be, the products are going to be CO2 plus H2O always. So literally write CO2 plus H2O.
Oh wait, they're not even together yet. Okay, we're good. I'm in there then.
Psychopath.
I know.
That's all?
I'm just trying to make my way around.
I don't need, okay, so you write CO2 plus H2O and then you balance it from there.
I would love to, but I can't. Because my mother would have
No, it's just 3 of them.
Not balance it, balance it.
most of the time. Just my dad tries to don't get up on the wrong nerves because then I'll have to deal with it and I don't want to. And I was like, respect. Respect.
You two right there.
You should make me respect this. Because I'm getting back in contact. It's fun times, very funny, lots of fun stuff, and or what I have to do inside. It's really funny. It's for the fun times. It's just like
No, that's a good reason because SO4 is saying
I know myself and I know what time to do it.
sulfate will always be a
I already have enough pain the entire time.
It would be over here and you can tell your charge of I actually like my music. I hear you singing. I made this playlist like the other day and it came in handy.
I have like 8 different playlists.
What?
All have over.
I am recording me. Is that okay? I'm not gonna show it to anyone, I swear. It'll help me see what I'm doing wrong as a teacher. I hope I press record. I actually don't know if it's recording.
Wait, why is there 3? Never mind, never mind, never mind. Okay.
So close.
How bad?
Count that up again. You don't need to put it.
So this, that's gonna be 6, that's even, and that's 3 already.
It's already balanced. It's blind 2 there. Then I'll
And
submit.
then
Okay, why didn't it?
79.
No, like,
Now making that.
Addie,
Oh, shit.
Give me this and right once in my life.
downstairs. I won't encourage you, Addie.
Okay, so you're stuck, right? You have 9 on this side. You can do that 9, right? So the trick is, when you get stuck like that, put a 2 in front of the first
Or
step.
H2O is like.
H2O.
No, that was a bubble.
H2O.
I'm gonna sock you in the mouth, Addie. Stop it. Kill the child.
And then how would you change the height, the water to?
Probably.
I don't know the actual names.
Tip always rates the water as H plus 1 OH minus 1.
So how does that change your oxygen?
Thank you.
That's 12. Plus 6 more.
Is there a problem?
You're a problem.
Right. I'm my own problem.
Oh my god, I missed you.
You're stuck.
We're done.
I'll bring it up.
What?
I spent $8 on a marker to list out.
Why?
Because Prismacolor is expensive.
Alright. Quiz for both of you.
But I needed it. You know, I just like spending money.
When you're done with the quiz, put it in the
I
back.
needed it to color.
Alright, you're stuck. Big
I was doing stuff. Important stuff to me.
On 14? Okay. So my charge is you can't balance if your charges aren't potassium sulfate.
Look down at some water.
I balance the charges just like I did up here.
You got distracted, so I used it to my
That's correct. Oh no, that's not
I'm gonna lay here on the floor and give up with you.
Okay.
I have 2 sulfates and 1 potassium. How would I do? No, the AL's fine. The
Thanks,
potassium
Addie. I
sulfate.
was glad that's what you used me for.
Yeah.
But this needs to do, and that means this needs to do. All of them need to.
Carrier charge over. So now I got AL plus 3, SO4 minus 2. So we're like
Kansas to Memphis. Your AL2 is correct. What else?
I do have better music. That's
obviously a lie.
I just rather so later in my pocket if I start singing on my phone on my phone, I can hear what's going on. I had no problems in my life. Like, people share that thing, so let's go. I'm like,
They're not all my next one.
it looks kind of nice though.
I
Calcium, that's what you put for. Calcium, it's calcium.
pretty much. I know that's probably got it right. You are done. I mean, like, you
I
are.
actually wrote this out. I like coverages. I know what's in it. I will print you. We have got to not try to get everybody too. But still, it's just that I go either on the sides. And I'm just gonna be like, sorry, I answered a phone. My hair and hairspray now, especially during babies.
No, I put it in front of you either way.
Did you finish it already?
Yeah, that's
Iodine, not iodine. So it's just regular iodine. You put iodine on it.
Oh, but that one's finished.
Damn it. Yeah, well, you're ahead of me. So you're all in the world. Well, my cousin just one charge. I meant so way. That's one would come down to the iodine, and one would come down to the calcium. So I have two after the head. So fun.
To be as
Here, write this out.
so it's in the
Calcium iodide plus calcium iodide. Erase that.
This is the back.
AJ's just chilling there.
They need 2, maybe 6, 8. When you do pets, it's like
Because I love going to South Park.
Okay. So when we have the water written like that, what kind of reaction is it going to be? If I have a couple and I have a single person?
But you had the front one before me.
What is it? Like, what kind of relationship would that be? It would be a single person. Yes. So,
that is being tested right now.
the anions are attracted to each other.
Not surprising. I don't know.
Yep. And that keeps hydrogen out of the cold, right?
Plus 2, what?
No H.
I know hydrogen.
Plus hydrogen.
Me too.
But hydrogen is diatomic element, so we need 2 and we balance
they're really so
it. You cancel out your charge here. And then charge it there. And then balance it. Yes. So the charges will come down across. So the 2 would come to the iodine,
What's that about?
and the 1 would go to the calcium. So it would be CaI.
It's like we're in the
I'll be right back.
Okay, so I got the photo from were we still created that you where or we not?
No, I think of like the arrow like a log. You can't crawl under it, but you can fly over it. Okay, so your charges come with, but this is one thing. No thing that's like not positive. You got an answer, and did you have a question?
Yes.
Again, it is a quiz. I can only help you so much. Alright, you understand? Still on this
Why is it no, it's 50. Why is it so hard right now?
Okay.
Is it harder than one?
Why is it harder than normal?
I don't know, the other problems weren't hard like that.
Tricarbon headshot. It just tells you how many is in it. There's a covalent bond. So it's C3 and then H6. There you go. C3H6 plus O2.
So these don't have to.
That's just tricarbon hexagon. Write it on the sheet. Does that help you? So it says tricarbon. I have 3 carbons. So I put tricarbon hexahydride. So hydride is hydrogen.
Well, this is oxygen, but maybe it doesn't.
What kind of reaction is this? Is it? O2Q. Right here. So, what does combustion take?
CO2 plus H2O.
Exactly. Now balance it.
But I think you have to balance the charges on the level.
But, good thinking. Always think that, but when you have carbons, you don't have to, because it tells you how many there are. Because in ionic bonding, you have to cancel the charges. It's a covalent bond between 2 nonmetals. So you don't have to take any charges.
So when there's prefixes as well as the subscript, well not the subscript, the charges.
Generally, with that prefix.
Yeah, it's just tricarbon.
Okay, yeah. So then you also put the charges. Okay, so I have 3 carbons. How many do I need over here? Carbon balance. I have 2 oxygen on this side, but I have 3 times 2 is 6, plus 3 is 9. I put 3 here, that would give me 4 instead of adding 9. So I have an odd number on this side. I'm going to teach you how to do it. I have an odd number on this side, so I have 9 on this side, and I have 2 on this side. There's nothing I can multiply by 2 to get 9, right? So the trick is, when you're stuck like this, throw 2 in front of the first thing, and I'm going to double everything. So once I double that, just change it to 6, so I make it a 6.
Wow. Oh my god, I'll have you now.
Hydrogens.
These two charges aren't the same. So what do you have to do?
Once you have the 6 on 6 there, you can count your oxygen, so you can balance for it. That's what I'm gonna leave the
It's an I. So then you have to add 2 to our.
Alright, I'm gonna give you about 2 more minutes to finish this worksheet. Finish balancing it. You have 2 minutes. You can do it. All you have to do is add up your oxygen and figure out what you put in your oxygen.
And then don't forget to add waste. There should be a 2. So that means and the bromine by itself is added on the I know what I'm doing.
And then you're gonna rebalance it.
So you put 4 in front of that. Yeah.
Figure it out? How many do I have on this?
8. 6. Oh, there's way over there.
I don't think I have 6.
Oh, so you 5. Yeah.
Well, I'll give you 5. I don't have 2 oxygen. I promise. Can you tell me why you need 9? Gavin, why do you need 9?
Because on the right side, there's 18. Then that comes 2.
The wisdom? There's 18 on that side? Alright, I know you guys have questions. We don't have time at the end of class to keep working on stuff, but we really do need to move on. And I'm happy to write passes for anyone who wants to come and work on it during ELO. I'll be in here once my ELO is gone, so if you guys want to come in and work on it, we'll do that. But we really need to go on in the notes. So, just put that aside if you're still working on the reaction worksheet. If you don't come in during ELO and you still don't finish it, it will be homework due next class. So you need to finish the worksheet by next class. Okay, will you please get out for me your note booklet and turn to page 16? Alright, page 16 in your note booklet. Alright, so if you guys didn't notice, on your worksheet that we were just working on, you didn't have any decomposition reactions. We did that on purpose because all the other kinds of reactions follow the same sort of rules. Decomposition reactions do not. There's actually 5 different types of decomposition reactions that you might be tested on. So they follow different rules depending on what is in the reactants. Out of the 5, Ms. Chamberlain is only requiring you guys to memorize 4 of them. I'll give you a handout of the 4 at the very end of class. You can study them, and we're going to go over all 5, but you need to memorize 4 of them. I'll tell you which 4 when we get to it. You won't know there's going to be 1 decomposition reaction on the test, and you won't know which one it is, so you'll need to memorize all 4 of the decomposition reactions. They're not super hard, but you just have to remember the rules for them. So, the first kind, I need to turn this on. Alright, so decompositions are difficult to predict, just like I said, because they break apart differently depending on what is in the reactants. Match up the type of decomposition reactions with the ones that follow to predict the products. So the first type of decomposition reaction is the decomposition of binary compounds. Binary compounds means there's 2, binary means 2, so it's a compound of 2 different things, and it'll break into its 2 components. So an example to write in your notes would be like water. Water decomposes into H2 plus O2. So we have this, it decomposes into hydrogen and oxygen. Make sure when you're writing these examples that you write the balanced equation in there because we're going to have to balance equations when we do our worksheet later. Another example is mercury oxide. Mercury oxide will decompose into its elements. It'll be mercury and oxygen. It'll decompose, make sure it's balanced as well. The next kind of reactions is the decomposition of metal carbonates. Metal carbonates break apart to form a metal oxide and carbon dioxide gas. So, as an example, we have calcium carbonate. The metal part is the calcium, the carbonate ion is this one, CO3. It has a -2 charge. It's on the back of your periodic table of the polyatomic ions. When you have a carbonate, it's going to break into a metal oxide, which means a metal plus oxygen. So it's going to break up into calcium oxide and carbon dioxide gas every time. The next type is the decomposition of metal hydroxides. Hydroxide is also a polyatomic ion on your periodic table. This breaks apart to form a metal oxide and water. An example being calcium hydroxide. Calcium hydroxide will go into a metal oxide just like the last one. Calcium, oxygen, and oxygen come together to make calcium oxide plus water. So in our last example, we did this and we had calcium oxide in our last one. Why does this one produce water and the other one produce carbon dioxide? Why won't this reaction produce carbon dioxide? Not the amount. Look at our reactants. Why won't it produce carbon dioxide? Because there's no carbon. Because of the law of conservation of mass, we have to have the same elements on both sides of the equation. That's how you know it's like a trick to remember. You know, like if you can't remember if it makes up a metal oxide or carbon dioxide or water, you can't remember which one it is. Look at what you have in the reactants. If I have oxygens and hydrogens, so it's going to make H2O. If I had carbon and oxygen, it's going to make CO2. The next one is the decomposition of metal chlorates. Metal chlorates break apart to form a metal chloride and oxygen gas. An example being potassium chlorate, potassium being the metal, chlorate being a polyatomic ion. will decompose to form calcium chloride and oxygen. Potassium being our metal, chloride, so we say potassium chloride, and oxygen gas. The last one we're going to go over in our notes is the decomposition of acids. Acids break apart to form a nonmetal oxide and water. An example being carbonic acid will produce carbon dioxide and water. The nonmetal being the carbon oxide, carbon dioxide and water. Another example would be sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid breaks into sulfur trioxide plus water. The nonmetal being sulfur, oxide is oxygen there, and the water. Okay, so that's all the notes that I have for you today. We're going to do a lot of practice with these, so I have a worksheet that I'm going to pass out to you over the different types of decomposition reactions. We're going to go over the first one in each of these different 5 categories as a class. So take a handout, write your name on it, and we're going to do the first ones as a class so you guys see how it works when you're doing the problems. All the A's together. So we're gonna start, I'll fill in the blanks with you guys and then we'll do the A's together. So, let's get mine. All right, number 1, I pressed the button. Number 1, metallic carbonates decompose into metal oxides. Carbon dioxide gas. I write that G in the parentheses there to show that it's gas. Carbon dioxide gas. So we're going to do A together as a class. Just like we did in predicting the products for our other worksheet, we're going to do the same sort of steps. So when I look at this problem, I have potassium carbonate. I write down what I know. Potassium is K plus 1. Carbonate is CO3 minus 2. The next thing I do is balance my charges. I have to cancel out my charges, so this 2 will come down here. This 1 will go to the carbonate, so I have K2, CO3. I already know it's a decomposition reaction because that's what we're doing today. So it's going to break it into 2 different components. The metal oxide, metal being our potassium, so it would be K plus 1. Oxide means oxygen, so we have our O minus 2. My subscripts never come over to the other side. I only write subscripts when I cancel my charges. So to cancel my charges on potassium oxide, I bring the 2 down and the 1 over, so I have K2O. Plus carbon dioxide, CO2. The last step with solving these problems is to make sure that we have a balanced equation. I have 2 potassiums, 1 carbon, 1 carbon. I have 3 oxygens on this side and 3 oxygens on that side. From the oxide here. 1, 2. See it now? All right, so now we're going to skip down, and I'm going to do A with you on number 2. The other ones will be practice. So metallic chlorates. Metallic chlorates decompose into metal chlorides. And oxygen gas. We'll do A together. So we have sodium chloride, which is sodium plus 1. Chloride is CO3 minus 1. Our charges cancel. Decomposes, so I write my arrow, into my metal chloride. So my metal is sodium, Na plus 1. Chloride is just the chlorine element, Cl minus 1, my charges cancel, plus oxygen gas, plus O2. We look at our equation, we make sure it's balanced. I have one sodium, one chloride, one chloride. I have 3 oxygens and 2 oxygens over here. So to cancel those out, I put a 2 in front of my sodium chloride. I put a 3 in front of my oxygen gas to make 6 of each. And that changes, I have 2 sodium chlorides, so I put 2 in front of that. Make sense? Any questions? All right, moving on. We'll do number 3, A together. All right. Number 3, metallic hydroxides. Metallic hydroxides decompose into metal oxides. And water. So let's do A together. Sodium hydroxide. Sodium is Na plus 1. Hydroxide is our polyatomic ion that's on the back of our periodic tables. Hydroxide is OH minus 1. Decomposes, so I write my arrow. Decomposes into a metal oxide. My metal is sodium. So Na plus 1. Oxygen, O minus 2. I need to cancel out my charges. My 2 comes down to my sodium. So I have Na2O plus water. Plus H2O. I need to make sure my equation is balanced. I have 1 sodium on this side, 2 on this side, so I need to put a 2 in front of my sodium there. I have 2 hydrogens. I have 2 oxygens on this side. I have 2 on this side. All right, flip to number 4 on the back. Binary compounds are by far the easiest ones for me, or for at least for me. I think they're easy for everyone because they break down to produce 2 components. They break down into their 2 components. We'll do A together. We have aluminum chloride. Aluminum is Al plus 3. Chloride is Cl minus 1. I need to cancel out my charges. So I bring my 3 down to my chloride. So AlCl3. Decomposes, draw my arrow. Decomposes into aluminum. Al plus 3. And chlorine plus Cl minus 1. I wrote something by itself. I actually wrote 2 things by themselves. So when I write something by itself, I need to make sure that it's not one of my diatomic elements. Is aluminum part of our Brinkelhoff or our Super 7? No. Is chlorine?
Yeah.
Yes, so it needs a bud. 2. Then I need to balance my equation. 1 aluminum, 1 aluminum. I have 3 chlorines and 2 chlorines on this side. So to make them equal, I put a 2 in front of here and a 3 in front of the chlorine. That changes my aluminums. So now I have to put a 2 in front of my other aluminum. Those 4 are the ones that you're gonna have to memorize for the test. You're gonna need to know how they decompose. We're gonna do number 5 together. She wants you to know how this works, just to understand how combustions work when you decompose hydrocarbons. So we'll do number 5. All right. So for the combustions of hydrocarbons are carbons that have hydrogens attached to them. That's how the scientific term for them is hydrocarbons. So in the combustion of hydrocarbons, O2 will always be a reactant. Just like over here, we have our O2Q as a reactant. When we combust hydrocarbons, O2 will always be a reactant. And CO2 and H2O, water, carbon dioxide and water, will always be the products, every single time. Because these are the easiest to remember, the hardest to balance. This took me probably about 5-10 minutes to balance every single one of these, which is kind of a lot for just balancing. So we're gonna do A together, and I'll give you a hint for the other ones. We have methane gas right there, CH4 plus O2 always produces CO2 plus H2O. Now we have to balance 1 carbon, 4 hydrogens, 2 hydrogens, so I put a 2 in front of my water. I have 2 oxygens on this side. 2 plus 2 is 4. So I put a 2 in front of my oxygen. That is the easiest one to balance on the worksheet. The other ones are significantly harder. I'm going to give you a hint for all of them to make them a little easier. Go through and write CO2 plus H2O on all of them. All of them are going to react to make CO2 plus H2O. Every time. The tricky part of those ones is that you have to balance them. So that's all I have for you guys today as like lecture type style. The rest of the time, I'm going to give you to work on the handout in front of you. One last thing. What? If you don't do that was for the other one. If you want to do your quiz during this work time, you can. But if you don't get to it today, we'll do it next class. So, before we start working on that, we're going to do a work time. I want to talk about the last thing we're going to do because some of you are going to finish this quickly. So I'm going to talk about our reading. We're going to do a reading about forensic farming. Has anyone heard about forensic farming before? Melissa, can you tell us anything about it?
Not really, I just heard it around.
You just heard it around? Okay, so forensic farming is like a body farm. Has anyone heard of a body farm? That's another term for it. Basically, the reading that you're going to do, which is at the front of the room, so if you finish your decomposition worksheet and your reactions worksheet, you're going to get a reading guide. That'll be due next class as well. And it's about forensic farming. It's about the University of Tennessee. They lead the nation in forensic farming and studying decomposition is what we just talked about, is decomposition reactions. When I think of forensic farming, I think of the movie The Blind Side. Has anyone seen that movie?
Yeah.
Great movie, right? So it's about a football player named Michael Orr. He played for the Ravens and now he plays for the Panthers or something like that, but he still plays in the NFL. It's his story. He was homeless as a kid and he gets adopted by a family. And to play D1 football, he had to get his grades up, so they hired him a tutor. His tutor is named Miss Sue. Miss Sue, I wish I had the video. We looked for it, looked for it, we couldn't find it. But there's a scene in the movie where Miss Sue is tutoring Michael, and she is trying to convince him not to go to the University of Tennessee. He's trying to choose between Ole Miss and the University of Tennessee. His whole family wants him to go to Ole Miss, but he's interested in Tennessee as well. So she tells him this story about, you don't want to go to Tennessee because under the football field there are dead bodies, and when you're playing, they're going to reach out and grab you. And that scares him. Everyone thinks that she's telling a lie, just trying to scare him, but it's actually true. The body farm is not very far from the University of Tennessee's football field. It's like walking distance. So what they do is underneath the football field, they have lockers that are like temperature controlled, and they keep human body parts down there for the body farm. So she's telling the truth. They do have dead bodies underneath the football field at the University of Tennessee. But the reading is about how they study those bodies. They study the decomposition, which is what we just went over, the chemical reactions that the body goes when you die. They look at, you're going to talk about, like, they study the maggots that come onto human bodies, and they study, like, their intestines when they eat the bodies. They do different things with the bodies. They, like, throw them in a lake, or they put them in a rug to see how they decompose each time. So they, people who donate their body to science, or they're unidentified, they go to this body farm, and they talk about, and they study how the human body decomposes. So it's a really interesting article. So what we're going to do the rest of the day is you're going to work on your decomposition worksheet. Once you finish that, you can either work on your reactions worksheet if you haven't finished that. And if you've done both of those and taken the quiz, if you want to take the quiz, you can do that too. If you want to take it next class, that's perfectly fine as well. After you are done, you can go into Google Classroom. Google Classroom has this forensic farming article on it. Just pay attention for just a few more seconds, please. The Google Classroom, I shared a link with you for this article. If you prefer a hard copy, they're up at the front, but it's on Google Classroom. Ignore the assignment that I posted with it. What you're going to do instead is come up to the front and grab this anticipation guide. You're going to fill out the anticipation guide and read this article for homework if you don't get everything else done. If you get everything done, get this done, turn it in, you have no homework over the weekend. So I'm giving you the rest of class, which is about 25 minutes to try to get everything done. I'll be around to answer questions and to help you out. So the reactions worksheet, the decomposition worksheet, and the forensic farming are the three things that you're going to try to get done. If you don't get to the quiz, that's fine. We'll give it to you next class. Any questions?
Can I take the quiz?
You want to take the quiz?
We have to do
All three of you want to take the quiz? You cannot cheat on it. I know how you would. Hey! Whoa. Almost a teacher. Miss Emmons said when I taught her class, she watched it. When you're done, turn it into the front masterpiece. Cobalt is CO. Did all three of you finish your worksheet?
Which one?
This one?
Yeah.
You guys all finished that? I made a playlist of all the songs that I like for the chemistry class. So it's like a playlist that I made that I call chemistry class on Spotify. And I downloaded it to my computer. Why, is it bad? Do you not like it?
No, it's the same one.
You've never heard this song before? Oh my gosh, I'm not that old. I mean, it's a really old song. It's called Hello Goodbye. It's the greatest thing ever. Yes. Well, I have 3 on this side, and I have yeah. See, no, that's right. That's right. Sure. Yeah, those look good.
No, we'll have to, we need to have
The third one. Aluminum carbonate goes into aluminum oxide plus carbon dioxide, Al2.
Now, you still consider these individuals?
Yep, so you have to put a 3 on this side, on the carbonate. About to finish. Is this? No. Just the worksheet we were working on earlier. This is decomposition practice.
It is.
Would be 1 instead of 4, right? Would just be 1.
You have 4, because the charge goes over, so I have sulfate is a 2 charge, so how many hydrogens do I need? Cancel it out. Yep, so I need 2 without 4.
But do I have less than that? I had to change some stuff, I believe.
Yeah, we got lost again.
You got lost again. Okay, so I have Al2CO.
Well, I was going to do student art this year, but I didn't. Not next year, but I can.
So we have CO3 3 and then a 3.
So I have to do that instead. And then I'm gonna do rec theater. And library sciences. I'll do option. Library sciences. Yes. You'll just like not even talk to me. No, I can't see your busy. I'm gonna listen. Dang it, why did I do this? How much of an idiot I was. Why? Because I was bored and it felt easy to just take it apart and then I didn't better focus decisions. So here I am now.
Oh, we can't wait. Can't forget about this.
Do you know what we're doing for the class? I promise you heard it. I knew you were out of this job.
Ones cancel out, so they cancel out this way, cancel out, I don't think it when I think about it. The twos cancel out, so one cancel out, so we're good. So we have like BR minus 1. Carry your charges over, it'll help you. So we have BR minus 1. What's the charge of calcium? So how would I cancel out those charges? Yep. And then balance it from there. And you would actually write it calcium bromate, you put the calcium in front of it. I mean, you're not wrong, but that was something to write it. The cation first. I can only help you so much.
Probably JCPenney's.
You have JCPenney's probably?
I don't know.
Is that place still open? It's closed in Denver. At least the one I go to. I think they're all closed down.
It's definitely closed.
JCPenney's is still open.
It
You
is?
need to close.
I thought they were closing a long time.
I see. I work like a dog, but I see one mistake on the.
Everybody's quitting. They just keep hiring really, really old people.
Do you work there?
No, I quit.
At JCPenney's?
Yeah, the managing sucks.
Do you know what it smells like? Mine?
I don't know, check yours yet.
Are you done, Joe?
I think so. I'm scared of that. I'm looking good right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go. No.
I can't tell you what the mistake is, I just know I see it.
I can't though. It's a quiz. I'll help a little bit, as much as I can. But...
Yep, that's fine.
Hey, you told me it wasn't. You said I had a balance computer.
Well, you have to check and see if it's balanced. I didn't really look and see if it's balanced. You would need to look and see if it's balanced. I even checked my answers to make sure. Usually I do them in my head. Do you know what this one is from?
Number 2.
I love teaching. Yeah, I don't think it's I'm really afraid of becoming like a first year teacher because I'm spoiled. You guys are great. All of the classes, I don't have any issue. I think like the biggest issue I have is like someone leaving for 30 minutes to go to the bathroom. Like that's the biggest issue we have. And so next year, when I'm a first year teacher, I'm sure I'm gonna get I don't hate it. I would hate my life if I was an elementary school teacher.
I can do that. I can do with little kids.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I mean, when I have a kid, if it doesn't come out like 13 years old, I don't know what to do. When I have to like adopt a kid, little kids, like I could look at a little kid and be like, nice to meet you. I don't know what to do with them. You have 6 little siblings. How to do it? I can't do that. I have one little sister, and I can't. She's only 2 years young. She's 19, and I can't.
Yeah, and then the next one's going to be.
Oh my goodness. Can't do that.
So if there's 3 right here, does it count for this one? It doesn't.
Write your charges.
Balance them because I'm confused. You can't depend on me.
Say 2.
So how would I do that? Okay, but you have to, let's cancel out our charges first. When you cancel out charges, I think it's a big X. So this one has to come over here, and this 2 has to come over here. So how would I would have parentheses over the nitrate, right? Oh. Parentheses, and then bring the 2 down. 2 of the nitrates. Yeah, 3. Yep, and then your balance.
So that's
Yep. Yeah. Cancel out charges is one of the hardest parts. That and balance.
we need 6
Oh, I thought you did. Sorry. Yes. Sorry, wrong person. I was like, what's wrong? I know it's good. Okay, so when the nitrate is one thing, so put parentheses around here so you remember, and then this would be a 3 because it's one whole thing. You need to remember it was one entire thing. So we just carry that one. Yep, you would carry that one. Only the polyatomic ion subscript comes over.
Oh, no, you add them. That's 6, okay.
I don't remember it. All 3 of them are wrong.
What?
It was for the ones we did.
No, it's the balance. They're really hard. Just have to get through them again. No.
No.
Those are the hard balancing combustion equations. When you get stuck, put a 2 in front of this one, okay? When you get stuck and they don't equal each other, the oxygens don't equal, put a 2. It's a rule I learned in school. I call it choke 2. Choke 2. So you, when you have a combustion reaction, you do the carbons first, balance the carbons, balance the hydrogens, then you balance the oxygens. If it doesn't work out, you multiply the first thing by 2. Multiply the first thing by 2. Choke 2. That's how I work.
Give up on trying to do it.
You are good at chemistry. Everyone can be good at chemistry. Chemistry is everywhere around us. Yes. Yep. Oh my. All 3 of you have questions? Okay.
You have to balance each other.
I know.
The charges. Charges. You do the charges like we did on the board.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If I have like a +3 and a +2 over here, and then like with aluminum and oxygen, you want to bring a 3 here and a 2 here. So 2. Think of it as a big X. Because then this cancels out and then this cancels out.
Is it the same thing if it's 1, 2 and 1?
So if I have +2 minus 1, I would need to put a 1 here and a 2 on this side, whatever it would be. So these cancel out.
So if it's a 3 and then 1.
It'd be the same concept.
That's what I thought. I'm done.
You're done then? Turn it. Are you confident?
I'm scared though.
Good job, Lindsay. Okay, so the reading guide is up. If you want to start that. If you want to read it on your computer, that works with the. Did you say my name this time? It was in you this time?
Oh shoot, I didn't remember.
Perfect. Just like that. She did it for you. You asked that she does for you. Turn it. You confident? What? No, you're not. Okay, turn it.
Wait, now do I have to make this?
Okay, you balance it.
That's right. I'm gonna agree. I don't think I'm doing it.
So it's a 3. I feel confident
I haven't even.
I did.
Your name is blank.
Oh, look at it.
No.
You make that look like
Nah, you're right. You're looking at it.
They wear a mask for the stitches.
But if you do see like a big
Can't see
thing,
each
say,
other.
let's give it
That's the only place it is.
They're Italian sometimes.
So you can go with them. Before. Good check,
I tried
I'm trying to figure these out
Do you have all your stuff done?
Right here is 12.
Got 5 minutes left. You can do the reading strategy, working on stuff, and I'll talk about
We don't do that.
Yeah? Oh.
When I went behind it, 7. And now how many
Alright, grab the reading strategy out at the front.
So, okay, so you have to put it at 2 here, here, speed. Remember how she said you have to do that again. So you have 12 here.
You can take a quick pause. I don't want you to do something here unless you're going to come here and yell at us.
Me and Sierra got
I started. You got the game. You got the game.
So try 3, that's good. O2.
Just putting
O2 for oxygen. O2.
Yep.
Twice up antibody. And produce carbon dioxide and water. Yep, we got tomorrow.
Yes, good job. No, he's got it right there. Yep.
No, the other thing you're going to turn in is the major part thing, but if you don't get it done, just do it.
Alright, did anyone else finish any of the worksheets they want me to check off? If I haven't already?